my name is Michael Bryant. I'm the Senior Manager at SecureWorks. I oversee our red teamers and penetration testers. Title of the talk, Catch Me If You Can. Nothing to do with movie, nothing to do with Epic Nail, none of that stuff. The idea of this talk came about from the tests I've run in the past as a penetration tester, as well as some of the other testers. You know, we go on site, we do a test. It's almost too easy at times. We get usually by lunch. We're shooting for the main admin on the first day. You get the main credentials, move around a little bit, escalate privileges, get the main admin, get the goods, and move on. So that's kind of where this talk came from. It's geared more towards you guys who are out there who are sysadmins and blue teamers, right? For the penetration testers out there, I'm not going to show you anything that's really groundbreaking or elite. Hopefully you guys are already get a chance to use these techniques in your own tests. I know we all get limited in scope sometimes, which makes us all sad, but hopefully, hopefully you guys are getting into the cool types of attacks that a lot of the adversaries out there are using, right? So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover a common attack scenario, walk through credential harvesting. For our purposes, we're going to talk about Responder. It's a common tool a lot of penetration testers are using. It's, quite frankly, the easy button when you're on the network. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about privilege escalation using mimikatz and group policy preferences. Those are two common things that we're also using during our tests. Attackers are also using those as well. And then we'll talk a little bit about privileged accounts and password usage. Again, this is all, to me, it's common sense to some extent, basic security hygiene. But again, judging about the success of my attacks, what I have on site, there's a disconnect somewhere, right? It's not where we need to be from a security posture standpoint. So let's walk through the attack real quick. Common attack scenario, initially, that initial breach is most likely going to come from phishing, spear phishing. It can come from other means, but that's the most likely avenue for getting access. Once we get that initial foothold right, we're going to start compromising some systems. We probably have some domain user accounts. We're going to start harvesting other credentials, moving around, looking for sysadmins. And once we find those guys, it's going to be pretty easy to escalate privileges at that point and get the domain administrator. Again, most of the time, it's like I said earlier, it's the main admin before lunch, right? That makes the rest of the week so much easier when you're going to look for all that sensitive data and those critical systems that you guys have. The lateral movement, and those two middle boxes is really what I'm focusing on here. We have data exfil. Once we've targeted the data identified and acquire that, most likely as a bad guy, we're going to try to exfil those. For us, it's usually a stopping point. Although we do get some engagements where they want us to try to see if they can stop us from getting their data out of the network. I'm not going to really focus on any of the spear phishing or any of the initial breach. I think that's part of the problem. We're focused on the perimeter and protecting before it gets to these middle areas. And that's really where, for me, I see a lot of problems. And we're not going to really talk about that last part of data exfil, because to get to that point, you might as well go call IR. It's done at that point. So there's a good write-up. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but if you Google hacking team breach and Pastebin, you'll find an excellent write-up by the guy who took those folks down. And it walks through an attack from start to finish, how he gained initial access, which actually wasn't spear phishing in that case, but he does reference that that's one of the common ways to get access. He goes through how he got the initial credentials, how he went and hunted down the system admins, how he escalated privileges. I mean, it's very rare, you get to see an adversary write up, how to take a company down. It's a good read, highly recommend you go check it out. So let's talk about credential harvesting for a minute. So for me and for most adversaries, we're going to start out with domain user credentials usually. Right? We get some low privilege user, well, say low privilege, they're almost always local admins, but we get domain user credentials, use those to go do queries against the domain controller, find out who the domain admins are, who we need to target to go after next, any service accounts that are interesting. Once we find that, we're going to go after the domain admins. A lot of times they're a little more careful. Their passwords are always a little bit more secure than the average user. But with some of our tools, as we see a little later, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can have a strong password or weak password. Some of our tools will treat them the same regardless. So responder credits, like I said earlier, it's the easy button. You guys ever use responder engagement? How often do you get credentials?
Yes.
Every time. Every time, right?
Every time.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes I get lucky next to the domain admins with responder. Not often, but sometimes. So with responder, what it's really doing for us, it's a tool that was written by the guys at Spider Labs. So Trustwave. What it's really doing is providing us the ability to go after a couple of weaknesses in both the LLM, NetBIOS name service, and then WPAD vulnerabilities. So the LLM&R, which I can't say really well, the link local multicast name resolution, and NetBIOS name service, both do basically the same thing. The link local multicast name resolution was a replacement for NetBIOS name service. What it does is allow local computers on the same network to identify each other with DNS is available. Now, the WPAD piece is basically, the vulnerability there is with Internet Explorer. If you have automatic discovery, the proxy turned on, it's basically going to query out. It's going to start with, is there a proxy defined with wpad.dat that I can go to and get this information for my browsing? If not, it's going to query VINs, and if it doesn't get that, it's just basically going to go out and say, hey, does anybody know the information I'm seeking? So with Responder, it basically sits there and will answer to those requests. So you can either answer them separately, depending on what you're targeting. Most of the time, I'm just looking for all of the above. So whatever happens to come my way. So users will be on the network. They may mistype a server name or a PC name. So that's where the NetBIOS name service and whatnot comes into play. Responder, I'm just going to say, yep, I'm it. And then you kindly name the username, password hash. And then it's just a matter of going and cracking the hash, which again, oftentimes is fairly trivial. I mean, most of the time, users, what we've always told users, and what the settings are is 8-character passwords are fine, and that's not the case. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So basically, with Responder, we can take advantage of these weaknesses, and again, like I said, it's almost every time, right? Right away. First thing I do when I'm on site for an internal test, run Responder.
If there's not switch networks.
What's that?
If there's not switch networks.
Right, yeah. You're going to get, Although I did read it, there was a talk last year at DEF CON, I think, that had some ways to deal with that. I don't remember exactly.
You just set up a WPAD server on any of your domain systems and have it respond with a blank WPAD response.
Right.
As long as its response is faster.
Is it, when you're using responders, is it ever interrupt services?
Yeah, sometimes. I wouldn't kick it off and go to lunch.
Okay. I
Sometimes
mean, sometimes
it's
there
not
are
good.
places like that you don't use it, like in a server.
It's a race condition.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually run it in batches. Usually actually that writing. So one thing I wanted to say about the responder is I don't know if adversaries are really using that. They're using similar techniques and tools. Probably I don't know if they're using responder exactly. I do know that in that write-up I was talking about with the hacking team, he used responder in analyze mode. He never explicitly said that even when he was on the network, he actually used it to capture any hashes.
I'll pick off responder and then Wireshark or TCP dump, and then watch to see if anyone else is trying to respond to those in a permissionless mode, and then you can tell if you're overriding another WPAT server.
Yeah. And with analyze mode, you basically find out it's a lot of recon for the network, right? You'll find out server names, types, OS, so you can identify interesting servers, database servers. So what can we do to mitigate user responder or these weaknesses, right? So with both LMNR and NetBIOS name service, really got to disable both. You can't just disable LMNR because it will then default to NetBIOS name service. The problem though is that's probably not likely in most environments. There's a lot of legacy stuff as well as other services that rely on it. So most likely you're not going to be able to turn that off. Same thing with restricted interLAN VLAN communications. If you can limit the amount of communication between hosts, you're going to cut down on some of this, some of these vulnerabilities. But again, that can be a difficult thing to accomplish. Really, in this with responder, I mean, your best bet is usually to focus on limiting your privileges, right? Reducing the amount of privileged account users that you have on the network. That's usually the best way to take care of that. I do think there are some either AV or host type protections that can identify when responders running. But once I noticed that, I just changed some settings and then much like everything else with AV and that kind of stuff, it happily ignores what you do.
Those are usually custom rules that they're in place.
Right, yeah. And with the WPAD mitigations, uncheck that box that says automatically detect settings for proxy. Configure that WPAD DNS entry with that WPAD.dat so that it can go out and just randomly yell to the network. But again, it's really difficult to detect when this is happening. So you have to use other means of kind of preventing that from being a big weakness. Our next tool that we like to use, and adversaries definitely use this, Mimikatz. It basically allows us to get clear text passwords from systems. It gives hashes, both LM and NTLM hashes, as well as allow us to create golden tickets. So we can have, up to 10 years of unfettered access to your network. Change stuff or not. And basically the problem is, with Windows pre-2008.1 or pre-2012 R2 as well as Windows 8.1, by default it stores passwords in a reversible format memory. So if you run Mimikatz, it allows you to go out there and collect those credentials. So again, like I was saying, there's no. It could be a strong password, it could be a weak password, doesn't matter. Actually, in the write-up for the hacking team, again, referencing that, the guy was trolling, I guess, the owner of that company because he thought it was funny, showing he had weak passwords and whatnot. But he made a quote in there, it was pretty interesting. I was laughing at the guy, making fun of him, but in reality, with Mimikatz and keylogging, all passwords are equal.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, it's the one thing about it requires local admin to run Mimikatz. Which again, when we get to talk about privileged accounts and all passwords, that's the key, right? There's too many environments where we've made too many allowances for local admin across the environment. So mitigation and detection strategies, again, Mimikatz it's sort of easy to detect and then very difficult to detect. So your out of the box Mimikatz tool, easily detectable by pretty much any antivirus today. The problem lies in that all you gotta do is compile it, change some different, change it to not Mimikatz, or change it to something else, right? And AV suddenly turns blind and dumb.
Or don't let it touch disk.
Or don't let touch this, right? Yeah, my favorite technique is usually I'm using PowerShell to put Mimikatz remotely, so it never touches disk, never touches memory. And I mean, there are tools that will. I think there are some protections that will catch that, but it's a lot harder than your average antivirus. One thing you can do though, started with 2012 R2, they introduced the protected users group. So to help combat tools like Mimikatz from just scraping memory and passwords. It provides a lot of non-configurable protections to minimize that memory footprint for passwords. They also released a patch to basically port that over to older versions of supported Windows, so Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows Server 2008, those, so that you can get that same functionality. Because even if you have a 2012 R2 domain controller, but you have these other older versions of Windows 7, I mean, I'm sure most of you guys probably are still running Windows 7 in your environments. If you haven't patched it, Windows 7 doesn't understand the protected user group, so you don't get any protection.
And your DCs have to be upgraded to 2012.
Yes, 2012 R2. That's right. So, and then Windows 8.1 integrator by default will not store credentials in clear text anymore or in their virtual format. You can configure that on older versions of Windows, but you have to manually do it. By default, it's not set like that. Unfortunately, because again, Mimikatz requires local admin. The registry is not a problem. Plenty of times, go on there, change it. Next time, user logs in, and then you get credentials sitting there staring at you, which is always not. So it gives you the protected user group is probably a good way to go in combination with the registry setting. Yes.
Another really good way to mitigate Mimikatz is to prevent users from being able to spawn processes with debug privileges,
Right.
which your end users probably never need to be able to do, and Mimikatz needs that to do its business. So that's a real good, just general security practice.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So group policy purposes, this is another one that, as a hacker, I always like to check right away. Once I get the domain credentials, I can any domain user can query the group policy purposes and gain access to that policy. The big thing is obviously if you're an administrator, it allows you to make settings and push out things across your environment very easily, including setting the local administrator account on all those various boxes. The problem with that is basically the password for that local administrator account, while it's stored in an encrypted format, very weak encryption, the encryption key is publicly available and static from Microsoft itself. So it's trivial once you find the account and password, it's trivial to basically the password of it. Take a little screenshot here.
Has it been deprecated in 2012? The group policy purpose to store.
Yes, I'll get to that. Yeah. So here's just an example screenshot I had where I had a domain that kind of wiped out this stuff. Domain user with the sysvol. Got a little script that goes out and does that. You can see where they actually were changing the administrator name to something else, which was good, good for them. And then you see the password, the C password there. There's the encrypted form of it. Then you can see the other script here below where I ran that. Oops, there's our Super Mario password that this particular person was using. So again, once you get that, I mean, that might not be a domain admin, right? But it's going to give you that much more information and another account that you could go out, try against different servers. Maybe it has access to the domain controller. So mitigation strategies apply MS 14025, which does what you were saying, right? It basically does not allow you. All you do is delete, right? You can no longer push out local administrator passwords. The problem though with that patch is it's not backwards compatible. So depending on how old your environment is, if you ever used it in that fashion, those files are there forever. So most likely you're still going to find those passwords flying around in the environment. But Microsoft released some PowerShell scripts that will help with that. One of them actually goes out and will search and clean up all those XML files where that information is located. As well as another one that will manage the local administrator account to take the place of using group policy reference to deal with that.
What's the name of the one that, for managing local administrator?
I didn't put the names of them on there.
Ships.
Yeah. What I can do when I provide the slides, I'll make sure I provide information on those actual ship names.
Are you talking about apps?
Yeah.
Local administrator apps?
Well, I think that's not the PowerShell script, is it?
No, it's
That's the new method that they manage accounts with.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
These are specific accounts that were before last. With labs, you have to have a modern 2012 environment, right?
I'm not entirely sure about that. I think it's pretty compatible across the board.
Gotcha. So let's talk about privileged accounts a little bit. A lot of our problems stem from the misuse and overabundance of privileged accounts in the environment. This is a sample domain admin group, and by sample, I mean what I may or may not have found in the wild. So I picked out some of the more interesting accounts that were a member of the domain admin group. Administrator, big fail. SADDA.
When you
Generic service account.
when you find administrator through responder, it means it's being interactively logged in,
Yes.
which is a no-no in the first place. So
Right. Yes.
Can you say that again? I'm not sure everyone.
So with responder, if you find administrator sending you hashes, it means that administrator is an account that's being interactively logged into another system with, which is a no-no, right? You use least privilege and have administrative rights provided through group memberships, so you can track who's doing what at an administrative level. So that's always an additional finding that I tack on whenever I see that.
It was interesting on that, like that. Yeah, there's the password for the service WebSense account. So if you rep rock you, that's in there. That's the go-to word list normally on when I'm trying to do something quick on the site, rock you, and that's there, right? So that password was done. I now have the main admin account. That kind of stuff makes me sad. And happy, it's one of those.
63% of all data breaches are by passwords. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, for sure. So with privileged accounts, this is definitely not anything you haven't heard before, right? Your compliance people are probably beating you over the head with it. So it's easy to fix things, just make everybody local admin. Even worse than that, I've been in environments where everybody's local admin on every other machine. And that's awesome for me, not so good for them. Yeah, so, eliminate shared local admin accounts. Been on too many engagements where I like a backup exec account that's across the board. You maybe guess that, and then all of a sudden it's like local admin everywhere, and then it's like just like spread it, and then you're gonna catch the domain admin somewhere. That being said, logging and alerting on domain admin creation usage. I want to know everything the domain admin is doing, right? I want to know when it's created, when they're logging in, how often they're logging in, how often it's failing. Bob's working from 8 to 5, occasionally on a downtime window. If he logs in at 3 in the morning, I want to know about it. I should go ask Bob what's going on, right? That should be a red flag. But in reality, most organizations, if they have monitoring, they're probably focusing on the perimeter, and they're most likely not focusing on monitoring privileged accounts. And again, the local administrator privileges, you're probably saying, hey, you got that one up there twice. And that's because I feel like I have to tell everybody twice, and it's still good. So like I said, that's no rocket science there, right? Weak passwords, just pull some random passwords out of a domain controller dump I had where I cracked, I think it was like 30,000 hashes and got like 26,000 passwords out of it. You can see these. They all meet Windows complexity requirements. 3 of the best 4. Perfect.
They're all in Rocky.
Some of them are in Rocky, yeah, for sure. At least we know this one guy's like changing his password maybe every season or so. Or that's when his account was created and he hasn't changed it ever. I don't know. I want to think the latter, or the former, but yeah, these are trivial, right? The biggest offender here is just dictionary words. When it comes to password cracking, if you're using any sort of word that in the dictionary, we're probably gonna get it. For us, in our lab, we have a dedicated password cracking box, like most organizations probably do. Does kind of work we do. Any 8 character or less password for Windows. Less than an hour. Doesn't matter what it is, how complex it is. We're going to get it less than an hour. You move up to 9 characters with no dictionary words. Random, strong password. I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere around 200 some days. Force through that. Go to 10, you start moving up to years. In our box, we have 8 GPUs in our box region with passwords. It'll load through a bunch of hashes really good. So I think we need to reevaluate, what we're telling users is a good password. Unfortunately, if you're looking at PCI or other compliance requirements, right? They're 8 characters. That's good enough, right? It's not good enough. The other thing I struggle with is, how often do we tell users to select strong passwords and they don't, right? They're selecting nonsense passwords, right?
Reuse passwords.
Reuse passwords. Oh yeah, that's an even another problem. So we can continue to try to educate our users, but it only takes one for a failure, right? And it's a speeding task, right? Push your arms up, just keep falling down. So for me, what I've been telling clients is basically, focus on reducing the amount of privileged accounts you have. Focus on those privileged account holders, right? Require them to have stricter standards around password privileges, right? Because really, while I can do some damage with low privileged users, I can't get to those domain admin accounts. It becomes that much more difficult for them to get wrong with. most of my tests where I've gone through these steps, if they had just done one thing a little more securely, not to say I wouldn't have compromised them, but it would have made my job so much harder. Right? Yes.
About longer, obviously, passphrases.
Yeah.
15, 16, something like that.
Yep. Yeah. Longer passphrases. Be careful. I don't know. At a certain point, having words in your word list is probably all right, but you're talking like long passwords or passphrases. So for any privileged account, I probably would set them for 15 years and go up from that. While we're talking about that,
Have you ever done an audit where you were shocked by how well they did?
I've looked at many clear text password and mimikatz and thought I set the wrong password.
Well stated.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't have cracked it.
No need to give me the
Right.
text.
Mitigation, like you're saying, passphrases. Way to go. Multi-factor authentication. Even inside, right? I did one engagement. It was PCI engagement. I think one day at full controller, forward side, full domain admin access, everything we needed there. They had their hardware network separated by a firewall. They couldn't get across, right? So you had to do jump boxes to get into that network. It was a big pain. So I went hunting their firewall admin down. And they were conveniently, once I found him, I had access to his system. They conveniently used their Active Directory to authenticate the firewall. So, boom, I was in, logged into ASA, looked at config. At that point, I did a reveal to the client because I didn't want to go burn down the production. Want to sell that perk. At that point, I think our recommendation then was, have two-factor on the firewall, right? That would have stopped me from making that, or at least made it a lot harder for me to make that leap into that critical area. And password management tools. And for domain admins, if you can find a tool that I don't know any off the top of my head, but I know they exist, ones where you can check out credentials, right? Or they're short-term, there's credentials or short-lived, things like that make it so much harder. It's just something to keep in mind to help, minimize the effects of adversary being on the network. And again, from my standpoint, as a tester, a lot of times we're going in, it's an internal test, it's an assumed breach, right? We're sitting on the network. But again, I'm sure all of you have users and you know how easy it is to fish on how successful we are with that. So getting access is usually not terrible. So I don't know how long it took, but any questions or comments? Yes.
I just sort of fell out. The paste bin you mentioned, it's a URL, I have it, but there was a paste bin before that by the same people. Maybe Gamma Group also, and that write-up is not quite as detailed, it was a little different.
Yeah. And
there's more information, and it shows kind of another hack basically, but how they proceed a little differently with SQL injection eventually, but kind of went through it. And a couple other things I saw, have you used Gladius at all? Function with responder? Or no?
Was that what you were talking about last night?
Yeah, I don't really did. But it's on GitHub if you want to look it up. Gladius is kind of cool. It looks for the responder hashes, dumps them into Gladius when it sees it in that directory. So basically it's pushing it right over to Hashcat. And then it cracks passwords without you actually being right away. Yeah. So that's kind of a neat thing. And just something to do. And another defense for, I think, responder is to just create something that pushes out the occasional plain text password that kind of looks like an admin account. And people are lazy and stupid. And they try to log in with that. Just as long as you have logging on it.
Well, that's
You basically are phishing.
Yeah, for sure. That's a challenge though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You gotta have that logging in place and actually acting on those logs, right? I mean, again, many tests where, actually, the same one with the firewall, right? So that firewall admin when I gained access and was looking at his firewall config, came over to where I was working. He's like, "Hey, is this you guys?" And his laptop ran. I was like, "Antivirus alert," and I'm like, "Y'all." So as I go back to looking at his firewall config, but it didn't stop anything. It was just an alert. You just had to be looking at it when it was going off. But it wasn't like sending anything to like a central SIM or log console or anything like that. So it was just they were on edge because I popped them last year and they were really, really cognizant of my being there.
Honestly, that kind of stuff is really hard for a lot of organizations to even set up. And each product, you have these vendor silos that don't play nice together, and some of the more advanced detection stuff, unless you are a data scientist, it is really difficult to make sense of, setting up anomaly detection or whatever you're going to do for your alerting.
So it takes a lot of time and resources, right? All those, if it's a tool, it requires a lot of care and feeding and expertise that a lot of organizations don't have. In the security field, we have a negative unemployment rate, right? And getting those skilled people costs money. And it's hard for a lot of organizations to have on staff. And then you have the SIMs out there in the world, and those are sometimes pricey, but you still have to know they have to still log and look at the right stuff, right? Everybody focuses on the perimeter. Yes.
Sure. Just one other quick one out. If you're limited on projects for hours, like a lot of us are, they have so much time, and you sit there with responders, sometimes you need a couple days to get maybe an admin or something like that. So a good thing to do if you want to get it quick is at that point you kind of know what probably the server names or whatever naming convention they're using. So just think up some type of Windows share that you want and call the help desk number and ask them to check it, say I can't get into the share, and ask them to do it, and just make sure that it is misspelling, and then it'll immediately put their creds and their hash in the responder. You'll see it in like seconds. So if you're limited for time, you want to get like a hash of somebody who might get at it. That's one way that I did it before. It's pretty effective.
Yeah, I love all those dirty tricks. Responder, and sometimes I just feel like I go take a shower after
I'm gonna admit ignorance, and maybe I missed it at the beginning. I live in a complete Unix world. Like every system I touch is Unix or Mac. So, what is this responder thing that that's being described? Is it a Windows challenge response?
Right. Yeah, it's just taking advantage of those vulnerabilities, the LLMNR and NetBIOS name service, as well as WPAD requests that Windows boxes just constantly spew across the network. Yes?
So is spear phishing the most common entry point for you guys?
I think so, yes. I think it's probably highly successful, right? It's a tried and true tactic.
You ever get into like a perimeter network device that just has like a default password?
Never.
Yes. So, I was doing a test one time and found SSH open externally. Went to it, looked at it, like, oh, this is ASA firewall. I was like, Cisco. And I about fell out of my chair because I've never seen it.
Oh my god.
And it's been a while. I started out firewall admin and stuff like that, so I hadn't looked at Cisco firewalls in a while. And I'm like, let me see here. Enable? Oh, ding. Yep, perfect. Yeah, had to call them up. Was like, you might want to turn off SSH on your firewall, or I can do it for you. Any other questions, or there was somebody else over here was asking? No. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time.